We've all heard the word unprecedented a lot this week about the FBI raid on former President Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago. And while, yeah, that's correct, it doesn't fully convey just how outside the norm this operation was. For that discussion, we thought we'd bring in two guests with unique perspectives on this entire affair. Craig Shirley, presidential historian and Ronald Reagan biographer, and Monica Crowley, former Treasury Assistant Secretary under Trump, who also served as President Nixon's foreign policy assistant during his final years. She's the only person, I think, to work for both men. Monica, let's start with you. You say that the date of the raid has some significance. Explain.
Yeah, Laura, you know, when it comes to the deep state and how they operate, there are no coincidences. So the date that they chose to raid President Trump's personal residence was August 8th, 2022. August 8th, 1974 was the date that President Nixon announced his resignation. So this was a message event, perhaps more than anything, on the part of the FBI in dealing with President Trump this week. And the message was anyone who challenges the regime's corrupt power will be destroyed. In many ways, President Nixon was the first modern president to be a casualty of the deep state. And President Trump's enemies, and they are institutional enemies, whether it's the deep state, the media, the international community, the left, and so on, those enemies were Nixon's enemies. This is not to excuse President Nixon's behavior during Watergate, Laura, but it is a way of setting all of this into context. These are the same enemies, and both Presidents Nixon and Trump flew a little too close to the sun for the regime's taste, and they felt that their power was threatened, their absolute power and their absolute grip on the country was threatened by these two presidents, and therefore they both needed to be destroyed.
Now, Craig, you have a view on the way this unfolded and how it will impact Joe Biden's entire legacy. Explain that for us.
Joe Biden's legacy is going to be entirely one of corruption. There's nothing redeeming so far about his presidency. I don't anticipate anything redeeming about his presidency whatsoever. There's nothing to write home about this presidency. Is that one thing I think that this probably guarantees Trump's certainly nomination and probably re-election in 2024 and Biden's defeat in 2024.
Well, Monica, listen to what, speaking of Nixon, John Dean had to say this week.
They had to take an extraordinary action to protect the national security documents, and that appears what this is. The NARA, the National Archives, is very aggressive with this sort of thing. This has been in months in development. You've got an agency that's very protective of its documents and wants them. Who would have thought that we'd have a president that is more troublesome than Richard Nixon? I never dreamed that someone would make him look like a choir boy, but here we are. And we've got, he looks awfully good today as opposed to the problems we got with Trump.
Monica, he's been dining out on Watergate for, I don't know, 50 years now. But your reaction to that old fossil coming out?
Well, a little revisionist history coming from John Dean, isn't that very rich, Laura? I mean, it's just, it's incredible. Look, the left, including John Dean, will always find a brand new villain, whether it was George W. Bush or Ronald Reagan, and now it's Donald Trump. They always have that villain in their crosshairs no matter what. But now they realize that, like President Nixon, Donald Trump represents an existential threat to their absolute grip on the country and their absolute power. And so he's got to be destroyed. And that's why they continue over the last 6 years and ongoing, Laura, to try to take President Trump out. They have thrown the kitchen sink at this man, and the fact that he is still standing is a miracle. It's also a testament to his character, both political and personal, that he has survived all of this. I don't know another leader, never mind another human being, who could have withstood the pressures and the attacks that Donald Trump has withstood. But he also represents a future threat because he is likely to be the Republican nominee should he seek to pursue that, and could be the next president as well, in which case their power will be even more threatened. So in many ways, President Trump is an even more threat as an outsider than Richard Nixon ever was.
Now, Craig, earlier this week, this presidential historian, Michael Beschloss, offered some interesting analysis of this raid. Watch.
You hear a lot of people saying we have never seen before in history the household of a president of the United States being searched by the FBI. And that is true. But we must never say that without also including the last half of the sentence, which is we've never seen a president behave like Donald Trump with his contempt and indifference to the law.
Now, Craig, is that usually a historian's take on events as they're happening?
Yeah, no, Laura, is not. Look, all presidents are unique. All presidents are different. The last question you asked me, I didn't answer the question very well, but let me try now, is that I reread the Declaration of Independence Day. It's astonishing how many of the corruptions of the British government are being revisited by this new threat to American democracy and society. I feel like a lot of us are like Tom Paine at the cusp of the American Revolution when he wrote, "These are the times that try men's souls," and that tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Joe Biden is not going to be easily conquered, but his corruption, it must be. We must take control of Congress to bring sanity back to Washington once and for all.
Well, and control of Congress with actual action. It's not enough to take control of Congress and sit on your hands and, like, let's play patty cake with the same people who want to destroy the country. So I'm done with that. I know you are too, Craig.
I'm with you. Yeah. Some of these Republican leaders remind me of what Gene McCarthy once told me. He said they reminded him of somebody who went out on the battlefield and shot his own wounded. And we've got Republican leadership that is just like that, and they need to be gotten rid of. We need a good house cleaning, not just of Democrats, but as establishmentarian Republicans.
It's time for them to move on down the road. Monica, Craig, great to see both of you. Thank you for your perspectives tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.